whole time. Trying to figure out how to work all the things. Thanks for being here. Woo! They're up here. Just don't know which one to use. Use the green. He said green. There we go. All right. I'm Johnny. I see familiar faces out there. Good to see you all again. So I was going to show some video stuff, but I don't know that we're going to be able to connect any of it, unfortunately. Because it's already taken 10 minutes to figure out what we got back there and to see if we can make it work, but I don't know that we can. So it'd be weird to just show the video without audio. So unfortunately, I can't do it now. So I don't know if I have another oh, we have a musical Q&A, so I can maybe show one there. You know, we were actually, I was going to show you a few different clips. We have some shorts. So if you don't know who I am, I guess I should start there. John Yong Bosch. I was a Power Ranger, and I do voiceover in anime and video games. This is my 11th year here, and I always have a good time here. We always come in and have a good time, and my band has been coming forever, so Polo's still here. And Polo and Keita, who you saw earlier possibly, we've been shooting a lot of films, and so we shot a bunch of shorts. I was going to show a couple short films, and then a couple trailers and a trailer for our latest film that we were working on. We were going to perform this year, but because we were shooting, we didn't have any time to rehearse. So I'm just catching up, and the year's over. But anyways, yeah, I was going to show you a teaser to the new film that we did, and that will hopefully be out next year. I brought the whole film, but you guys aren't going to be able to watch it. Sorry. All right, but here's something that I was using the bathroom back there, and for whatever reason, I'm always thinking of like dumb ideas and dumb stories, and so I thought up of like a silly, like a stupid ghost story, like a haunted bathroom, and so we're going to try to shoot this dumb idea while we're here this weekend, and then show it at some point this weekend. Okay? So, at some point, even if it's just at our booth, when we're doing autographs, you'll be like, hey, can I watch the video? Each of you are going to be sitting there for like 5 minutes watching this thing. It's going to take forever. That means we're going to have to make it short, guys. Yeah, we'll figure it out and see if we can, you know, possibly at some point show this stupid idea about the haunted bathroom. All right? Anyway, so let's just turn this into a Q&A then, okay? We'll just do it that way. We're good. We'll just do a Q&A. I know you've run around, but we'll try to do this for the next panel that I have or something. I do have a panel with Kat, the Pink Ranger, and I'm just going to take over and show videos. But anyways, yeah, so do you guys have any questions? Should I answer questions for you guys? Yes. Hi.
Fan of the Blue Exorcist anime.
Yeah.
How does it feel to be the brother to the demon of Satan? Or the I got that wrong.
It was. I mean, I like that series a lot, and I was hoping for it to come back, and we finally got announced that it's coming January. So we are getting a third season, so I'm definitely excited about that. I know, right? And I believe they were kind of waiting on the manga, and so then they're going to be following that. Because, you know, the first season kind of went off on a tangent towards the end, and then they kind of like tried to correct that in the second season, and then so I think they're just going to continue. So yeah, super excited about that, of course. Yes?
What's your favorite Vash line?
My favorite Vash line? From which one? Both? Love and Peace, definitely, from the original. That one, Well, I mean, I think that's the one I know that's the easiest one to remember. In the new one, I have to think about it. Let's see, what was that line? I can't remember it. I won't stop until they believe in me. That one's a good line. It's right. It's like the last episode. It's much more passionate. Have you guys seen the new Trigun?
Yeah.
Who has seen the new one? All right. You guys should watch it. Don't poo-poo it, just because you think Millie's not going to be in it. Watch it. I know, shh.
No spoilers.
Let them, think what they want to think, but they should start watching it, and then they'll find out where it is. Once you get to the last episode, you'll kind of know where things are in the timeline, and it'll sort of start making sense at that point. But the last episode's great. It's super fun to be a part of that too. I'm glad that it's back. It is darker. It's a little more serious. It does lean a little more towards the manga, but it's still kind of a new retelling of it. But it's pretty cool. It is really cool. Yes.
Big fan. I introduced you and me. Do you have any advice for people that want to start in voice acting?
Don't. It's really hard now. I would say, I feel like after, no, don't. I'm just kidding. You could try it. I think it is harder. And it's, especially after COVID, then if you're going to do it remotely, you had to have a really good setup. They were kind of working with people in the beginning, but now they expect a really good setup, and you need to know how to use your equipment. So you need to know how to use your DAW, how to record, how to ride your levels, which means how to adjust it when you're screaming or whispering. You need to have a very expensive microphone and a preamp. You just need to know how to record.
So you basically become your own studio.
You have to know how to you just need to know how to do all that.
Right.
But now you are able to go into the studio as well. But if you're going to be doing anything remotely, then you need to have, which half of my stuff is remote still. Actually, probably more than half I still do remote. I go to the studio, but a lot of it's still remote. But the other thing is AI is really kind of becoming a thing. I always see in my Instagram feed it's like a voiceover thing, it's they have 80 AI voice actors, and it's all just a computer, and you punch in whatever the sentence is, and you add the inflection, or is it angry or screaming or whispering or whatever, and then it does it, so that was the kind of role that people would get when you start out. It's oh, you get this small character, in the background, or does this or whatever, and then you start to earn your way through the voiceover world, and then you kind of understand how to work. So that's where things are going to be very tricky, because now you just need to know how to voice act. You have to be able to act. You have to be able to be a voice actor. You need to know how to record. You need to know how to work the microphone and write your levels and all that stuff. You need to know all of that stuff now to be able to probably do anything. Otherwise, if they bring you in, it might be oh yeah, you're going to play this character in the background, but then, and you're desperate to be a part of it, but you didn't see that part in the contract, which was we're going to keep all of your voice, and we own your voice now for our next AI character. So it's a very strange place right now. And that's what kind of the strikes were sort of about, but not really. It was that's what a lot of voice actors were concerned about, because we're already seeing it, We're seeing it, and so that's the only, I saw a couple auditions come in where I saw an audition that was a mocap thing. And I was motion capture is when you have the suit on and it records your body or whatnot, and then they place a different thing on for a video game, like Devil May Cry. That's what I did for Devil May Cry. Is I did motion capture, and then they put Nero over it. But I saw this come through, and I was oh, this is a cool something, right? Audition. And as I was going through it, they had this buyout for my likeness. And so it gave me pause, because I'm wait a second, so you own my face now? as an actor, I'm like, well, I want to be able to, you know, own my face, you know, like, what does that mean? That you can continue making games and not have to hire me now? Because now I can be whatever characters you have in your whatever games you make. So that kind of gave me pause, and that kind of also I started thinking, dang, is it really going to be like this now? Like we really have to check for that sort of thing. So anyways, that's a long way of me just kind of saying like it's going to be really hard. I think a better route would be to try to create your own thing, your own concepts, your own content, maybe your own little anime, whatever, YouTuber character, and then just start making voices, you know? And then try to see if you can gain some following from there, because then you can kind of sort of establish who you are, and then maybe that'll give you a little power. Not like a lot, but it'll give you something where they'd be like, oh, you're known for this? Okay, well, you know, but you have to read those contracts now. But I get all the time when I like scroll through Instagram, this thing comes up. It's like a voice, whatever thing, it's all AI. And you know, it had like 80 characters that you could choose from. Male or female characters, different voices, voice ranges. And yeah, you could just plug in whatever, and it sounds pretty good. It sounds like, you know, sounds like an actor who's just starting out, really. It's not like it didn't sound like amazing acting, but it would work for like a side character or something. So, but that's like a job. That's like take away a job. I know. There's like it's something where you can see like, oh, there's some cool thing about that, having AI. It's kind of cool, you know. Like like in Photoshop now, you can take a picture of something and then you can add like, I don't know, a monster in the background with AI or whatever, right? So some things like that, it's like, it's pretty cool. But also that would have been an artist that you hired, you know? So yeah, it's kind of, we're at that early stage of it. Just like how the music industry changed, you know? Like the people were able to like just get music and rip music, and now it's like easy. Like they have AI for that too, can write all these songs, and what do you need a band for? Just AI at all. So it's a strange place. It has its pros and cons. And we're just in the early stages of that. So I'm sure, hopefully, we'll work it out and we'll get to a place where it all makes sense. But I'm continuing on, but I'm just rambling. I was at a convention a few weeks ago, and outside the hotel, like in the parking lot, the security guard was a robot. It was like a robot. It was like an R2-D2 looking thing. It was like this high. It was like a cylinder. It said security, and it had like a little thing, and it was like, you know, it would like say things, whatever, locked, closed, or whatever. But I'm like, what does it do though? I didn't know what it did. I just looked at it and thought, that's interesting. And I don't know if you've been to some restaurants, you'll have like a robot that comes through, and then you put your tray on the robot. Now, instead of like a busboy coming over and cleaning things up, you just put the stuff on the robot. So, have you seen those? Some of you have. Nashville has them? Oh, okay. Yeah. Not here. Here they still hire people. Anyways, it's really strange. It's like we're getting into that Terminator, like early stages. Yeah, Skynet. I mean, some of it is kind of cool, right? Like, I'd love to see some robots running around. That'd be kind of neat, to an extent. I don't want them taking jobs, though. But yes?
So after not voicing Ichigo for like a period of almost a decade and returning to that character, was there like any sort of challenge or something like stepping back into that role, or did it kind of just come naturally?
Ichigo is a character that, I mean, I did go through some of the earlier episodes and then skip through and just kind of scanned where my voice was. But it's just me, a little angsty, you know? And so I just thought, all right, well, he's been a Soul Reaper for a while now, you know? And he's been, so I added that layer into him, you know? He's got a certain attitude that you know, I mean, any of my characters is basically a part of me. It's like just like an amplified version of who I am, right? So there is this, so, you know, like if I have all these different, it's like I'm a crayon box. And I just pull out the Ichigo colored crayon and it's ready to go. That's one that I have, you know, I don't have to mix any colors. I just know that character pretty well. Vash would be a little bit different because I did go through that but I didn't know, like I knew where Bleach was gonna be picking up from, you know? I knew where the story, like the manga had continued, I knew quite a bit of the manga, so I sort of knew some of those things. And so I kind of already knew what was happening, where I was coming from, where I was going, right? Trigun, I had no idea. Like, it was like sort of mysterious. It was like, wait, is it a reboot? Is it a retelling? You know, what are they doing with it? And then really nobody knew. You know, my director he only saw like a few episodes past what we were working on, so he could fill me in for a few things. But as we were going through, he was like, yeah, I'm not seeing old school Vash in here at all. You know, and it's like there might be like a moment here or two where we can sprinkle in the old voice or that character who he was maybe a little sillier, but really he was much more serious. And for me it's like more theatrical, a little more real, I guess, because I feel like that way then you know, when the emotional things happen, then it just hits a lot harder. Because you can really kind of feel like, well, this is real. This moment feels real, you know, or the danger seems real, right? Whereas the old one did have some of that, but it also had this over-the-top silliness, you know, which I loved as well. So they're very different. So that one was trickier. It was like the first couple episodes, just trying to find out where are we going with this character. Is he gonna, you know? I was like on the fence, like not sure how far into the original would I ever be able to do. And so it's really. There's just moments here or there where I'd sprinkle in that one, just so anyone who had seen the original might be able to go like, oh, that's old school Vash, you know. But the story was, again, a little different here. Yes?
Your experience with the motion cap, it definitely helping the Power Ranger back almost 30 years ago. But when you're doing that motion cap with Devil May Cry 4 and 5, also May 5 as well, how do you go about the experience of it, being with the motion cap? Like, not everything is in front of you, like on a set. So, how did you go about being Nero at that moment with the motion cap? What are the difficulties?
If I heard all that correctly, I think you're asking, you said something similar to Power Rangers, but also Devil May Cry, was that because it's motion capture and the stuff was not there, and I had to like imagine whatever, a 30-foot creature? Is that what you're saying? Like, how did I do those things? Just pretended. I just told myself that I need to believe this thing is real, and then, you know, and then I just do, you know? Because if I didn't, what you would see is like a Japanese guy with like a long pole and a tennis ball. You know, it's like up there, and you know, that's where my eye line was, so I'd be looking at a tennis ball, you know? And of course, if I was thinking that, I'd be like, what am I doing? But knowing that it's like a creature moving around, you know, and then it's like, you know, whatever is happening in there, it's like the creature's gonna swing with this, right now you gotta duck or whatever, and you're gonna jump onto this thing, this box, but really you're jumping 50 feet away and then landing on, you know, whatever, a building. So just imagine those things, yeah. And they would have, I mean, they did some things a little that would help out, like the sword or the gun, like even though it was like cardboard and duct tape, it felt right, you know, it felt like a sword, you know, and so there were different things in there, but everything it was all imagination. Like the van we were in, it was like wood. It was just like kind of built. I don't know if you guys know what apple boxes are, but it's like a bunch of apple boxes that we were standing on or sitting on. You know, the jukebox wasn't really there. It was just like, you know, I don't know, cardboard or something. So it was all just in our heads.
So
You know.
much cardboard when you slam your fist into the ground?
What was that?
So does that mean you slam your fist into the ground?
No, when I slammed my fist on the ground, that was basically carpet.
It was just
It hurt. It wasn't like cushioned. It was just like, it's like, I mean, maybe like this, I guess, but it's a solid, like, it was a warehouse. So it's like, like your garage would have like, the hard cement underneath and then maybe a layer of carpet over it. And there would be a stage, right? Basically, that's the staging area. They'd have like lights around, like this sort of thing, but all around the room. And they had cameras, and then we would have our suits on and they'd have like tracking markers all over our bodies, right? And then we would just do whatever our emotions were, whatever was happening in the scene, The nice thing about that is I got to create those things. I was like, I want to punch the ground. And so it's like, boom, I just started hitting the ground, But with that, they also had like a big monitor. Like it was actually at the one end of the stage, there's a big monitor. So I could walk over to that and I could see what I'm wearing, in the game world. And I could see, even though that's a tennis ball, I could see what the monster looked like, so I can visualize, oh, okay, it's got spikes or whatever. And then they had like a wall that had like what we looked like, who the other characters were, what they looked like, what the creatures looked like. So then we would go over there, we'd look at those things, we'd talk about the story, talk about the scene, what's happening in the scene, and then this thing comes out, oh, it's got, whatever ability, and its stomach opens up and shoots a beam or whatever, right? So. And then you just go play pretend. It's like when you were a kid, and you just pretended like, I don't know, zombies were after you and, shoot arrows at them or whatever it was, and then that's the crazy part. It's like I just get to keep doing that. That's my world, it's just pretending. That's where anime is it's actually easier because I can see it, it's animated already. Video games are different. It's again, I have to imagine those things because a lot of times the games aren't done. But yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, it's just pretend. Just if you have a good enough imagination, you can imagine it and pretend. Yeah.
Of all the characters you voiced or played, who would you say you had the most fun doing?
That's tricky. I get this question a lot, like which one was my favorite or the most fun. I really had a lot of them were a lot of fun. Vash definitely, Ichigo. Lelouch was tricky in the beginning, but then he became a lot of fun. Izaya, Kaneda and Akira, let's see, all of them. There's, they also become more important to me when you tell me how important they are to you. Like that's one of the great things about and why I really just keep coming to conventions. But it's like I get to meet you guys, really. I'm in a booth by myself most of the time, and so I'm just doing the work, hoping that it's gonna land, just doing my best. And then I show up at a convention and you basically tell me yes or no. You're like, I loved it, or whatever, right? So then I get to hear, that's like, because I don't do theater, I don't get an instant applause or boo, get off the stage. I do it, and then I'm like, fingers crossed, and then I meet you guys, and then you tell me, whatever show, Blue Exorcist or Trigun, or you're dressed up as, a character, then I feel like this, I don't know, it's very rewarding for me, I feel like I kind of instantly connect with you. Like I see a Vash over there and I don't know what, your world or what things you're going through in your life, but I instantly connect with you, it's like you're my people now, and it's like anytime I see anyone, and like even you guys just showing up to sit down in this room. Some of you might be sitting here because you don't want to stand up out there, but hey, you're in here. But I appreciate you guys being here, and meeting you guys is really a joy, and finding out really like how a thing that I did, maybe even years ago has had some kind of impact, like Power Rangers. I'm like, how did that, like for me, I had a great time, I did, but it was so long ago, and so here it's, I don't know, it just makes me happy. It really does. It makes my year, and it's like a drug. I can't get enough. Because I do hear plenty of like negative stuff as well. So, and then in real life, there's a lot of negativity. So coming here is like, man, the world isn't that bad, There's some cool people still in the world. You guys. Yeah.
I was gonna say, as a audio engineer graduate, learning about all these different deals like using mics, all the stuff that goes into music and the voice acting and all of that
I was very fortunate because I have a band, you know, and I had built like over many years my own studio, and I'm kind of a gearhead, so I've collected all sorts of stuff, you know, SSL stuff, Neve stuff, you know, I've got like all kinds of actual like gear, I've got like analog stuff, so I've already got like, and I have like a mic locker, so I have like tons of microphones, so I had everything. So for me, it wasn't like a large, like a big step, because I was already doing that when I would record vocals, you know. But so Pro Tools is very common. I prefer to use Logic. I like Logic, you know. Yeah, I don't know. I like it more, you know, and it seems like it's better for, I don't know, just music, you know, creating and or at least I know it a lot, like much better, you know, it's easier for me. And then I use a ton of UAD stuff, you know, I've got like all kinds of Apollo stuff and solos and duos and, you know, and I like the big knob, you know, because you can buy a preamp, you know, that has like tiny knobs, but it's not, like it's not intuitive. You can't adjust a level like this, right? But if you have a big knob, you can go whoop whoop, right? It's real easy to go like I'm screaming, so boom. I'm not, then I'm like this, right? It's super easy for me to do that. And remote, like I don't want to clear my throat and then it's open, I can just turn it off, you know, and then cough or whatever I need to do. So yeah, so I use Logic. I go through a Neumann microphone into UAD, and then occasionally I'll throw in the Avalon from UAD. You know, if you have the hardware, it's fine, but it's a tube, and so eventually at some point it's going to give out. But the plugin is actually really good, and that's what I've been using. You know, sometimes they want it just super clean, but I feel like it doesn't give you that. You know, it adds a little to it. You know.
They don't do all of that in school, so they constantly push protocols, they constantly push Ableton and all of these other ones. But
Ableton's great, like especially if you're doing DJ stuff or whatever, right? But I think Logic is better for just if you're a musician as well. I just feel like I don't know, I like it a lot better.
it's definitely the easiest to learn.
It's super easy to learn. It's easy, yeah. It's easy to figure out too. It's not like, I mean, I'm sure anything when you first start out, it's gonna be like whoa, but you know. And they all every once in a while there'll be an update and be like, why'd you move the buttons over there, you know, or whatever, right? Anyways, yeah, we can talk more of that stuff later at the table or whatever. That stuff's fun for me. Yeah.
What was your worst fan interaction? Because Eric Bell said that a lady was so obsessed with trunks that she reached over his table and was grabbing him and was asking him where his wife was. Chased after her and everything. Animal stalking.
Worst. Yeah. So I'm not on Twitter. Well, I'm on Twitter, but I don't really do much on it. I don't know. I used to write down my stories, like the worst whatever. Let me see if I have any in here. I don't think I have any.
The hug one.
I do have let me see how I can explain it, because I don't want it to sound like negative or bad. Do you guys know those e-cards? You know e-cards, right? Where like you'll get them in your email, somebody has sent you a thing or whatever. And those are cool. There's nothing wrong with that. That's fine. But is anybody recording? Okay, no? Okay, good. All right. So I'm not going to name names, but you know, I'm going to tell the story. So you might be out there, actually, whoever is doing this. But anyway, so I'm going to talk to that person as well. Okay, so every once in a while, maybe I should explain the first time it happened. So the first time it happened, no, I don't know how to start the story. All right, I'll just tell you. So every once in a while, usually around the holidays, someone like you out there decides to send an e-card to another voice actor, but as me. So whoever you are, you are sending an e-card to someone, and then usually you put like a positive message, or you've thrown up some, maybe a Bible verse or something, and then you send it to this person. I don't know about it, but that person then calls me or emails me or whatever, and then now I'm talking to that person, and they're like, "Thank you so much for, I was, in such a bad place, and that really lifted me up." And I'm like, "What lifted you up?" And so then I find out, and then I'm like, "Oh, I didn't send you a thing." And then I notice, like, "Oh, wait a second." Then I go through my emails, and I get a ton of email, and I just thought it was junk mail. But what it was the e-card company will send me a confirmation saying that this person opened it up, or this person, whatever. "Thank you for your e-card. It has been sent to whoever," and then it notifies me when they've opened it up. So every once in a while, I'll see that, and now I have to think like, "Oh, that's great." So it's weird because whoever you are, you're trying to nurture this relationship between me and another person, and you should let me do that. I want to gauge the distance between me and somebody else, If I want to be super close with somebody, then let me do that, So yeah, but all you've done is made it really awkward now. So if I see that person or talk to that person, now we share this like, "Oh, you still get the e-cards, huh?" Yeah. And so like, what do I do in that situation? Should I have just acted like, "Oh, you're welcome"? In hindsight, I probably should have, But also it's kind of weird though. Like I saw some of the messaging that was being sent, and like I'm fine with whatever, if you want to send them a positive message or a scripture verse, but then I have to go look at it and see what it means, and like I got to read it in context, Anyway, so if you're out there, can you please stop doing that? If you want to send me an e-card with that, that's fine. I have no problem with that. But please don't pretend to be me and send it to someone, because then it just makes it awkward. Yeah. Like, I don't know what... Is it you? Did you do that? I'm just kidding. Yes, back there. In the back.
Okay, so if you were able to have a chance to be a voice in any franchise you want, which would you choose?
All of them? I would. I would just go be in all of them. Kind of become a joke, sort of, at this point. Like Polo will be talking about something, and then, "Oh, yeah, I'm in that." He's like, "Oh, you just want to tell me that you're in everything." Yeah, I do. I think that'd be cool. It's cool to be a part of, especially if they're like, a really cool franchise, Like being able to be a part of like One Piece, like that's super cool. I just want to get to more Sabo stuff, Did you guys watch the live action on Netflix? It's good. Oh, you don't have Netflix. You said it like you were like against it. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. Yes. I'm playing Zelda. Yeah. Well, I'm playing through a bunch of them at the same time. Breath of the Wild, I still have not finished. Because I have so many like horses and stuff, I don't want to like end it, But I know some of that stuff transfers over into the new game, Tears of the Kingdom. But I kind of started to play that a little bit just to get a sense of it. But the thing is I've kind of forgotten the controls, and so I've got to go back through Breath of the Wild so that I remember the controls. And then when you forget stuff, and then it's like and then they've got the other one, it's like Awakening, I think. Looks like a little chibi or whatever. Like I just started playing through that, and I'm like stuck at this one thing. I only got 3 hearts, and he keeps throwing me around the room. And yeah, you know what I'm talking about? How do I beat it? Do I just need more hearts? Okay, well, you're gonna have to tell me later. can't hear you.
On that note, my 9-year-old son beat Tears of the Kingdom in like a month.
Yeah, okay, so I'm not that good, okay?
Me.
I'm not that good at video games, if it's not that clear. I'm pretty good at Pokemon Go, though. I can spin that ball. I can throw a decent curveball. Yes.
So, you voiced iconic characters over many years and impacted all of us here. Out of all of those characters that you've created with your voice, which one was the, are you serious, I got this call?
That like I was happy about?
Yeah.
Oh man, that happened multiple times. I think the first time, well, booking Vash in Trigun original, like that was, I mean, I had worked on Power Rangers and then I was like without work for a couple years and I thought that I was done. I thought I was gonna have to go back home or whatever, live with my parents. I had no idea what to do and I went to an audition randomly and then I booked that role. So that phone call was awesome. Getting the call to come be Kaneda and Akira, that was also earlier on too. I knew Akira, so I was like, I get to voice Kaneda in that? And I was like, yes. Trigun coming back. A lot of times I kind of like forget them, you know, that I even auditioned for them. But Ichigo, of course. I mean, it coming back was definitely the call I was happy about. Trigun, actually the new one, and I knew that they were replacing the voices in the Japanese, and then I think that the idea was to do the same thing in the new one. But last minute, for whatever reason, thankfully they called me in, you know, and I got to come in and play. I think a lot of times, and I find this out, like and maybe it's just my face, but I feel like a lot of people that don't know me, that are in the industry or whatever, that maybe they've heard of me and know that I'm a voice actor and don't know me personally, they just assume that maybe I'm not going to be cool to work with, or maybe I'm a douchebag or something, I don't know. But then after like a few episodes, then they're like, oh, I always hear this. And this is why I'm saying it. I always hear it from like new directors or whatever. They're like, oh, you're a pretty good guy. You're pretty normal. You know, I'm like, yeah, all right, thanks. What did you hear about me? But they never tell me, you know, so I don't know like what the stories are. Maybe you guys know.
They heard about the e-cards.
What was that?
They heard about the e-cards.
They got an e-card from it, yeah. It's like, you're that creepy guy that sends those e-cards. Yeah. I don't know. Yes. Yeah.
I was just curious, do you ever have difficulty finding the voice for a character? Or does it
Difficulty finding the voice for? Yeah, it definitely can happen. There have been a couple times where either I auditioned for something and then I had like one thought in my head of how to play the character, booked the role, and went in thinking I was going to do that, but then they totally changed it, you know, and well, actually we want to go a different direction. And then so right then and there, like I had been, you know, obviously thinking that since I booked it, off of this audition, in my head, I'm like, okay, well I'm going to focus. And then so I just start adding that into my bag of like whatever tricks when I show up, right? So I've got like the way he laughs, the way he, you know, whatever mannerisms and things. I just kind of like make those things up so that whenever I come into play and I have some lines that I've never seen, I can do those things, right? But then to have to change them, it's hard, especially if you spent a lot of time, you know, developing a thing. And so a lot of times now I'm just kind of like, well, I'll listen to it and I'll go, okay, I kind of see where it is. And then I'll just go in and then I'll ask a bunch of questions. And then if they play me back the audition, then I'm like, I'm gonna use this then, you know, but if not, sometimes they kind of adjust it, you know. The worst was, and I don't think I even got to do it, is I booked some, I don't even know what it was, but it was I think it was an animation, original animation, and the character was supposed to have an Irish accent. And so I did an Irish accent in the audition, booked the role, and I'm not Irish, you know, and so I'm like, I don't speak that way. So I spent a long time just developing that. So it was like in my tongue, it was right there. And so when I showed up ready to go, they were like, all right, so we're not doing any accent. And to go back to normal was really hard for me. But I managed to get through that day, and then that was it. I'm pretty sure that they were like, dude, this guy is terrible. He can't even like remember how he speaks in real life. It was tricky. Yes, Dash.
Has there ever been a character that you felt like you weren't cut out for? And if so, how do you deal with feelings of inadequacy?
That I wasn't cut out for? There were a couple times, yeah, for sure. There were a couple times where in the middle of the first session, a couple hours in, I can think of 2 of them right now, that I stopped and I looked at the producers and the director and everybody that was in there, and I was like, hey guys, I don't think I'm right for this role. And then, tried to get out and tried to like leave. But in both cases, they insisted I was right for the role. But it didn't feel right to me, and then it became, but then I realized, so that my struggle was this. Every time I would make a choice on the line, they would adjust it, or they would want me to do it again differently. And then I was doing it multiple times differently, each time a little different, this way and that way. And so like each take was taking like 8 times. And I'm like, if I'm having to do this over and over and they're changing me drastically each time, then my natural instinct is wrong. And so it's not fair for them, and it's very difficult to get through. And you walk away leaving like, that was terrible. You feel defeated. And so I didn't want to do it. 2 occasions. But they both insisted that I should do it, and they wanted me for the part. But really, I think I realized that it was not that they didn't like what I was doing. They wanted to hear 8 different ways before they made a decision on which one, And so once I realized that, then I was like, okay, they call them like shoppers, like a director that's like a shopper. They just want to shop. Let me hear like 8 different ways, and then I kind of like the original, right? Well, let's go back. And then once you realize that, then you're okay. It's much easier when you're just in tune with your director, and it's like, I'm working on a game right now, and it's a new thing for me, but it's like 1 take or 2 takes, and it's like, it feels good, and it feels like everything feels natural, like I don't force anything. The only other time I felt like I wasn't sure I was right for a part was Orga in Iron Blood Orphans. And so it wasn't a character that I felt like, when I heard the Japanese, I was like, that's not a character I would normally be cast for. And so, or I didn't feel like I was, and so I would basically scream out all the street signs as I was going there, because I thought if I was a soldier, I'm probably always shouting over gunfire or whatever else, right? And so I did that. And so when I went in, I was somewhat textured, and I felt like I had to force the words out a little bit more, like a soldier, I guess. And then, it worked. You probably can't even hear it, but I could feel it. And so it helped me mentally be there, and so that's what I did. Yeah, you got another one?
I've been a fan of Dragon Ball whole life. This dude got me into it when I was little growing up, and Broly is one of my favorite characters by far. So what was it like stepping into that role after being voiced for a while?
Yeah, Broly, well because there's controversy with that. So there's a lot of hesitation in even wanting to do it, I wanted to be a part of that franchise just because I knew it for a very long time. I didn't know really the various different storylines for Broly. Like there's a totally different, version of him. Like the story is different, and now what's canon is different from that. And so I didn't know all of that stuff. And because of the different controversy, that's why they reached out to me, because I lived, I wasn't in Texas, I was in California, so I was like outside of the circle, basically. And so they wanted somebody who, I I don't really surround myself with any kind of drama, or I haven't yet, so hopefully I can keep it that way. But you know, they're like, Johnny just seems like a whatever kind of guy. Let's see if he'd want to do it. So Toy contacted me, and then Funimation contacted me, and I did feel like I needed to talk to the person first, because even though, regardless of whatever was going on, I need to just kind of like lay this out there, you know, and that was difficult. And then I asked for some of it, like I just wanted to watch it. And then they didn't ask for an audition, but I wanted to, like I was like, well, this is what I would do. So I just kind of like recorded the movie, basically. And then so I did all different things, and I just pulled a couple clips and I sent it, and I said, this is what I'd feel comfortable doing. And then they were fine with it. So the hard part is because this character has been voiced not by just one other person, but many other people. And then many other people have grown up with a different version of that character. And so now I can't really do like a completely original take on it. I have to kind of do like a mixed bag, you know, like I have to hint at like a few other colors from other people before I can really kind of get into my own, right? That's the hard part, you know, because I want to be able to, I'd rather just kind of like, I wish I could just do a fresh take, but I can't do a 100% fresh take. It has to be blended, and I understand that, you know, and I think most people understand, but that's why I don't go on Twitter, because there are some that don't, like regardless, you know, no matter what, you know, even me just taking over the role, like me taking over the role from Black Ranger back in the day, like some people hated me, you know, like it was up to me. It's like, well, I didn't do anything wrong. I just like went to an audition and I got the role. And so I know that there's just going to be a bit of that still, you know, no matter what. I'm just hoping that the character starts to come in more into play, and then, you know, people will be able to get to hear more, and then kind of like make a decision from there. All right, so I think I only have time for one more question. You've had your hand up. You're supporting it with another hand, so I'll let you go.
I was wondering if you ever do improv whenever you're doing voice acting.
Do I improv? The dialogue? All the time. Yeah. I didn't used to. I used. That's one way to do it. What were you talking about? Yeah, I do it all the time. I didn't used to, because earlier on it was like I just wanted to do my job. I didn't want to lose my job, you know. Now I'm a little more confident, you know, in what I can do as well. And so if I'm confident and I understand the character enough, I will throw out, I mean, I'll say something first. I won't just like do it. But I'll say, you know, can I try something different, you know, or something that I feel might work better, or I might even like say what I think. Like, I think maybe you should say this because I could see what's going to happen later. Or I can see, for instance, like if the lines before me, everyone's saying everybody's names, you know, I don't need to say it also, you know, and so I'll be like, can I not say the person's name? I think we get it. You've said it 5 times before this, you know. So yeah, I'll do that every once in a while. But only if I'm really confident in the character, but I do feel like I do it a lot more. It's more fun to do that, actually. That helps me be the character a bit more as well. And it also makes me feel like I've contributed to that character. Like the first real big improv for me in Power Rangers was, I'm a frog. You know, like that was not in the script at all. I was bummed about, you know, one other Ranger taking all my parts, you know, from the script and changing the script. And so I was bummed, and I was like, hey, can I be bummed out about getting this power? And then they're like, well, let's do like the script first, and then if we have time, we'll see what you're thinking about. And then they let me try this thing, and that's what they used, and it was cool, it was fun. But yeah, hey, thank you guys so much. Hope I didn't totally put you to sleep. I appreciate you guys being here. I'm gonna go over there to the booth for a little bit, and then I'm gonna go watch, you know, some people do a thing, and then I'll be back tomorrow. And then hopefully we'll shoot a stupid ghost haunted bathroom thing. Yeah.